Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're taking a look at the Xur's inventories, random rolls, my recommendations for October 15, 2021. Let me just say, this is a fantastic view. I'm sure it's like PNGs, but it's beautiful. Stars are twinkling, you know what I'm saying? The Xur can be found in his regular spot in the tower, so just head over into the top left section of the hangar, right here next to the precipice is the Xur. This is a high overview in case this is what you wanted. First and foremost, we have the D.A.R.C.I, which is a sniper rifle that used to be very high DPS, but after a series of different sniper-based nerfs, heavy nerfs, new heavies coming out that superseded it, it just hasn't really found itself any place in either meta. Seems the only real use of it is that you can actually see the distance for damage fall off numbers. So if you want to know when exactly a weapon starts to damage fall off, you can actually use this weapon to find exact distances because of the information in the scope. Now when it comes to this weapon, the biggest thing is you have this little personal assistant. You aim at an enemy, they get highlighted, and you get like 4 times the headshot damage you would normally, which makes this a super powerhouse if you can actually start landing all those shots, but it's obviously very high rounds per minute. And even then, nowhere near the DPS we have of a lot of different heavy and some special weapons these days. And just as a personal note, each and every one of the ornaments actually will change the scope and of course the highlight color. I personally like the default color of red, the other oranges are not really that great. Up next for the hunter armor, we have the Stompies, which I consider to be the #1 hunter exotic across the board. Obviously, it's specifically really good in PvP, but obviously has some uses in PvE if you want to get through certain jump puzzles, and it is truly just one of those long-lasting original exotics that is still amazing and has always been amazing. If you don't have one, you need one. Regardless which mode you play, this is something you just need. When it comes to the roll, obviously you'd like to see a lot of mobility, a lot of recovery. Doesn't have either one of those, but depending on your stat distribution, you may be able to get away with this because the total stats of 65 is pretty good. Up next after that, we have the Titan exotic known as the SYNTHOCEPS, and I think it looks a lot better with, well, actually with the male model, the shoulder section is a bit bigger, but anyways, this ornament I think is wonderful, and this exotic is also really good as well. I think it's like top 5 or really close to top 5. It firstly has increased melee lunge range, which is like almost the same as a fitting aspects, which is insane considering Titans melee faster than Warlocks, and you improve your melee and super damage when you're surrounded. And apparently, and I believe the more surrounded you are, you get more damage, starting at 50% and continuing upwards. Obviously, the melee part of this is really good in PvP, and the super part of this is actually really good in PvE. There's a lot of times, especially in Grandmaster Nightfalls, where a single hit from your melee attack or your thrown attack will not kill a red health enemy. This will change that paradigm and allow you to really mop up large swaths of enemies by doing just a little bit of extra damage. As far as the roll goes, you'd probably like to see maybe recovery, strength, intellect. You don't really see that many in anything, but the total stats of 63 is okay. Again, it really depends on your distribution, although I'm not a big fan of the roll. And finally, for the Warlock exotic today, we have the Transversive Steps, which I believe this is at like #1 or #2 for Warlocks as well. This is a really good selection for Xur today. I just wish the rolls a bit better, and this one is very similar to the Stompies. It's all about sprint speed and being able to get that speed quicker, and on top of that you also have a bit of an auto loading with your current weapon equipped, which is nice for weapons that really slow reload or you just cannot be bothered. So it allows you to make it a bit faster, and of course you get to move with it. So obviously the PvP side of things, escaping battles, getting to targets faster, PvE side of thing, getting through a strike faster, and auto loading is just really good. There's almost no scenario that this thing is not useful, and there was this new ornament which I don't have, I actually don't have, that actually looks really cool, and I recommend that one. When it comes down to the roll with this exotic, it really depends. A lot of people like to Icarus dash with this exotic with low mobility. However, Icarus dash is not as good as it used to be. Maybe you want to put a maybe you want to put a bit more mobility in it. I'm not too sure. Outside of that, obviously recovery is really good for Warlocks and just in general. So not a great roll. Total stats is also not great. But again, this exotic is just so omni-useful. If you don't have one, this is fine. If you do have a good one, don't worry about it. After that, let's go ahead and take a look at the different legendary weapons. First up, Dire Promise, a very high aim assistance, good recoil pattern hand cannon. It's one of those higher magazine, lower range 140 hand cannons, and this roll is not really that good. We have the 7 Seraph VY7. Again, there are definitely some better stuff on this, although I'm not a big fan of the precision frames. You may like them. We have the ARSENIC Bite, which has a bit of an accuracy problem, and accuracy is very important to bows. And this is not nearly the best kind of roll you can get on it. We have Long Shadow, which actually does have Snapshot and a couple of different scope options here, which I don't recognize, so probably not the best. but it does have snapshot if that's all you really care about. Hollow Words, not the best. I believe this can have lead for gold and Vorpal on this or something like that, so you can definitely do a lot better. So 150 grenade launchers, which we already know we don't like. A Royal Entry with impact casing and auto-loading with Demolitionist is very close to being top dog. I think this can have lasting impression here, so it is like one perk away from just being insane, and it also has quick launch and velocity, so it's pretty damn close to being perfect. If you don't have a good rocket launcher, this is something I highly recommend. After that, legendary armors for the Warlock. 61 is okay, not a high resilience or recovery. 64 is pretty good, high recovery, recommend that one. This one is 61, not really that great. 62, this one's okay for distribution. And then finally, of course, make sure you pick up your exotic cipher quest. This is basically just free. You do strikes and Crucible and Gambit, and you get an exotic cipher, which you can spend on anything you want. I personally like spending on the exotic engram because I like to get more exotics with high stat roll. And of course, they always drop with a high stat roll. I don't know where it went. Don't worry about it. And of course, if you haven't seen it already, make sure you come check out my live streams at twitch.tv/Dychronic, link in the description down below. Also, doing a little bit of YouTube live streaming if you haven't seen it already, doing those on Wednesdays. Maybe mix it up on a different day in the future, but come check those out as well. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Specifically, a big thank you to Mom and Dad, Luco, Dr. Strange, Kelly Allen, Joe Smith, my Nixie, Bachman, Raymond, Shona, Panther, Casey Reagan, for their support on Patreon. And that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name is Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.